Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to PlateUp, another Learning the Basics food card tutorial. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about salads. Salads are one of those things that used to be very easy to automate and were one of those very, very easy dishes. But with the implementation of pizza, you cannot automate chopping tomatoes without a bit of extra help. There's some trickery with bins, extra prep stations, smart grabbers, combiners, etc., etc., etc. But we're not going to get into that in this video. We're going to be talking about salad and the subsequent cards that you get that are specific to salads. Excuse me, but salads is main. No cooking, but lots of chopping. Basic lettuce salad served with and without chopped tomato. So as you see on the description there, the lettuce is easy. You take a piece of lettuce, you put it on a cutting surface, which could be a counter, a workstation, also using the sharp knife, or a mixer, which also does the chop function, chops it into lettuce leaves, you plate it, and you serve it. Tomato, same thing, you put it on a cutting surface. Now, you cannot use a mixer to make tomato slices by itself, because what will happen is it'll make the tomato, and the mixer will keep going to make tomato sauce. And you don't want tomato sauce for salads. You want tomato sauce for pizza. So tomatoes are one of those things where you could automate it a bit. If you have the tomato bin, you have a grabber or smart grabber grabbing it and putting it onto a counter or on top of, or onto a workstation, or using the sharp knife. And that's the easy way to automate, semi-automate, at least feeding to a cutting surface tomatoes. Lettuce, you could automate completely with using mixers. You'd have your bin, a grabber or smart grabber going into a mixer or a conveyor mixer, pushing that out into a prep station if you get that far, or onto a counter as well. And that's a very easy thing to automate. Now, salad toppings adds a whole nother level to salads, because with the main salad, you had two options. You had plain lettuce or you had lettuce with tomato. Adding toppings now adds variety of combinations, because onions and olives can be added together, and they could also be added separately and also in conjunction with the tomato. The base starts with your base lettuce. All salads start with base lettuce, based on what we're talking about so far. This card does reduce your groups by 15, which is not that much for the extra work that goes into it. But basically, you're chopping an onion, you're placing it onto the lettuce, the plate with lettuce on it already. Olives, you don't actually cut anything, you just interact with the olive bin, which will put an olive in your hand, or if you have the plate of lettuce in your hand, you interact with the olive bin and olives will get put onto your plate. Now, if you see in the bottom right hand corner, it gives you the different choices somewhat. So you have, with the toppings, you're going to have plain lettuce, you have lettuce with tomato, lettuce with olive, lettuce with onion, lettuce with tomato, olive, and onion, tomato, onion. So there's about 5 or 6 different combinations. I'm going to end up forgetting one that you could have, because each one of those tomatoes, onions, and olives are all treated as separate toppings. They don't have to go together. They could be one combination of 2 or a combination of all 3 of them, which makes it pretty complex when you have to start chopping the onion. But again, onions can be automated the same way the lettuce can be automated using a mixer, a couple grabbers, going into the bin, etc. The next one is going to be apple salad. Now, apple salad is quite a bit more involved. It involves eggs as well as oil. So the way you do it, you could do these somewhat in different orders, but not, you just follow the way it is. So you take an egg, you crack an egg on a chopping surface, which could be a counter, a workstation, using a sharp knife on one of those, or you could do it using the mixer. Turns it into the bowl with eggs, you interact with it with the oil. You basically hold the egg in your hand, you hit the O button or whatever your interact button is, or also combine button, I guess, also works based on what it shows here. Both of them should be sufficient, and that turns it into mayonnaise. And then you have your plain lettuce, which you chop up, and then you have your plain apple, which you chop up. You combine the lettuce, put the lettuce on a plate, combine it with the apple, and then combine it with the what is it called? With the, I guess it'd be considered mayonnaise. You combine all 3 of those together on one plate, and that creates an apple salad. So you could automate the eggs, just like you can automate the lettuce, the onions, the chopping of them, I should say. But to make the what would be considered the mayonnaise, you can automate it using combiners, but again, that's a little bit more advanced automation than what we're covering in this video. But it does give you 30% reduction, which is actually quite a lot. That's 1/3. If you have 20 customers, or say you have 21 customers, that's not going to go down to 14 customers, or roughly 14 customers, 15 customers. So it's not a bad card to get if you're struggling with too many customers. Now we go into probably the least fun of one of all the dishes that are available in the game, and that is potato salad. If you look on the screen, there are 3 parts of this, and that's correct. There are 3 parts of this. The first one is chopping a potato. You chop it, you add it to a pot of water, you boil it. While that's working, you then chop up an onion, you crack an egg, you interact with the egg with the oil to make the mayonnaise. So now you have the mayonnaise, you have the onion, you have the cooked potato, chopped potato in a pot. You then take the plate, you interact with the pot to take the potato out. You interact with it with the mayonnaise, and you also interact with it by adding the onion on top of it to give you the potato salad. In the description, it says a challenge for even the most experienced chefs. And that is very true. Now, this can be fully, I don't know if the potato part, I don't believe can be fully automated, but the rest can. Chopping the onion, chopping the potato, making the mayonnaise, which you already discussed in the previous video, can all be automated, as well as adding the onion to the plate. Also adding the mayonnaise, but I mean, it would be a very, very complex automation, which I haven't tested yet. If there was some sort of sandbox mode where I could spawn in all the things that I need, I would have a video how to automate potato salad. But it is very, very complex to do because there's many, many different steps, many combiners, many mixers, conveyor belts, etc. So this is a card that most people don't take because of the complexity. But if you look at it, if you have potato salad and you also have apple salad, that's 60% less customers than what you had to start with. And if you take this one, you're down to 75% less customers. So going into a franchisable run where you already start off with, say, 4 people, you'll be down to 1 person. And none of this you have to prepare in advance. This is all to order. The only thing that you could prepare in advance that would be helpful would probably be chopping the potato and boiling it, because that takes a bit of time. But everything else is very quick to do. So you could take your pick about which salad you want to go to, but having all these cards are actually quite difficult because of the complexity and how much work goes into making each salad, plus the toppings, the apple salads, and the dreaded potato salad. But nevertheless, salad is a fun thing to do because you don't need any cooking appliances until you get the potato salad card. So that means there's no mess from chopping. There's no mess from, or not from chopping, there's no mess from cooking. So it makes it a very easy dish where you don't have to worry about, you can't burn anything. Even when you have potato salad, you can't burn anything because because pots do not burn regardless of their cooking appliance. You could use any hob, you could use the heated mixer, which I would strongly not use because it takes forever. You could use a microwave, or you could use the oven to make the boil the chopped up potatoes. Anyway, that is the salad card. It's a fun one. If you end up not getting the other cards, it could be fun to franchise. You have very little mess. You could go very quickly. You could automate a lot of it. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Please catch me next time for another PlateUp Learning the Basics food card tutorial.